I finally claimed my own Mother's Day and my mom called my sister to complain about it. She finally gets her own Mother's Day. After years of putting everyone else first, she finally gets a day that is just for her and her family. And her mom called her sister to complain about it. Not to wish her well. Not to say congratulations. To complain that her daughter's happiness was somehow ruining her day. Let me take you all the way back so you understand exactly how long this has been going on, because this is not a new problem and it is not a small one. Every single year, Mother's Day rolls around and this woman is expected to drop whatever her husband and children have planned for her, set aside her own celebration, and dedicate the entire day to her mother instead. Every year. Without fail. Not because she chose to, but because that was just the unspoken rule that nobody ever wrote down but everyone apparently agreed to follow except for her, because nobody thought to ask her. Think about what that actually means in practice. It means that for however many years she has been a mother herself, she has woken up on the second Sunday of May, probably to her kids climbing into bed with her or her husband quietly starting breakfast, and instead of being able to sink into that moment and just receive it, her mind was already calculating. Already planning the pivot. Already thinking about what her mother needed and how to get it to her and whether it would be enough this time. And she did it. She kept doing it. She bought gifts, she arranged flowers, she had cookies sent to the door. She tried to make brunch reservations last year at a real restaurant, the kind of effort that takes thought and time and usually involves being put on hold for 20 minutes while someone checks availability, and her mother stood there and told her it was not what she wanted. Picture that moment. Picture standing in a room you have tried to fill with care, watching someone look at everything you brought and deciding out loud that it falls short. Not a thank you. Not even an attempt to be gracious about it. Just a flat rejection and a complaint dressed up as feedback. So what did she do? She swallowed it. She nodded and she adjusted and she kept moving. Her husband cooked dinner that evening and they made the best of it, but the damage was already sitting on that counter molding right alongside those cookies her mother refused to eat. Wait. Let me just sit with that for a second. The cookies sat on the counter and molded. This woman bought her mother a gift, had it delivered to her door, and her mother left it out to rot rather than eat it. That is not a person who is ungrateful about the type of gift. That is a person sending a message. And the message is that nothing you do will ever be enough, so stop trying to make me happy and start making me the center of attention instead. So this year something shifted. Her husband told her he had something special planned. Something just for her, from him and the kids. She did not know what it was, but she was clearly excited, and you could feel that excitement in the way she wrote about it, that slightly breathless energy of someone who is not used to being on the receiving end and is not quite sure how to hold it yet. She was probably trying not to get too hopeful, trying to keep her expectations in check the way people do when they have been let down enough times that hope starts to feel dangerous. But the hope was there. And honestly, who could blame her? After years of giving and giving and giving with almost nothing coming back, the idea of one single day where her family shows up for her the way she always shows up for everyone else is not a luxury. It is the bare minimum. It is what Mother's Day is literally designed for. When her mother asked what the plans were, she told her honestly. The family has a surprise for me. That was it. She did not rub it in. She did not go into detail. She did not say anything that could reasonably be read as bragging or exclusionary. She just said what was true, that her family had something planned and she was looking forward to it. A normal person hears that and says something like, "Oh, how nice, enjoy your day." Her mother responded, "Fine, totally fine, no problem at all." And then immediately called the sister to vent that her daughter's Mother's Day was going to ruin hers. I need everyone to really absorb what just happened there. Her mother acted completely calm to her face, gave her zero indication that anything was wrong, hung up the phone, and then went straight to the sister to complain behind her back. That two-step move, that smile and then the pivot, is not a reaction. It is a strategy. And the complaint was not that she was lonely or sad or wishing she could see her daughter, which would at least be something human and understandable, something you could work with and respond to. The complaint was that she was, and I quote, pissed. Pissed that her daughter was going to enjoy her own Mother's Day. The word pissed. Out of every emotion available to her in that moment, out of every feeling she could have reached for, that is the one she landed on. Anger. Because her daughter gets to be celebrated. Now let us talk about the sister situation for a moment, because the sister is an important piece of this whole picture. The sister lives out of state. That means she is not there. She is not physically present to do anything for the mother, which means the mother cannot even rely on her for the day itself. But what the sister is apparently very good at is serving as the communication relay for every complaint and criticism the mother has about our narrator. The sister is how she found out the previous year that her efforts were not good enough. The sister is how she found out this year that her mother had better have something good planned. And I want to sit with that dynamic for a moment because it matters. The mother is not calling her daughter directly to express her feelings. She is routing her dissatisfaction through a third party, which accomplishes two things at once. It lets her maintain the appearance of being calm and reasonable to her daughter's face while still making sure the message lands. And it puts the sister in a position where she has to decide whether to pass it along or absorb it. The mother is using the sister as a messenger and as a pressure tool, and I want to know if the sister realizes she is being used or if she is just comfortable in that role because it keeps the attention away from her. This family dynamic has been running on one person's sacrifice for a very long time. Our narrator is not just a daughter. She is a mother of 3 children. 3. She is doing the work every single day of raising a family, managing a household, keeping track of appointments and school events and emotional needs that do not pause because it happens to be a Sunday in May. She is still somehow finding the time and energy to source gifts and arrange deliveries and make restaurant reservations for someone who will leave the cookies to mold and call it unacceptable. She is pouring from a cup that is almost empty, and nobody seems to notice or care because the pouring has become so automatic that it is invisible. It has been normalized to the point where it is no longer seen as an act of generosity. It is just expected. And when something is expected, it stops being appreciated. It just becomes the floor. And here is the thing that really gets me about the whole setup. Her mother had her time. She had years and years of Mother's Days where she was the one being celebrated, where her children showed up and made her feel like the center of everything, where the whole day bent around her. That time happened. It was real. Nobody is erasing it or pretending it did not exist. But at some point your daughter grows up and becomes a mother herself, and the whole equation changes. You do not stop being a mother when your kids get older, that is true, but you also do not get to be the only mother who matters anymore. That is just the natural evolution of a family. That is how it works when things are healthy. What her mother is doing instead is insisting that the evolution does not apply to her. That she gets to stay permanently at the center of every celebration forever, and that her daughter being a mother is somehow irrelevant to how the day should be organized. She is not asking to be included. She is not calling to say I would love to see you at some point today. She is demanding to be prioritized above a woman who is raising 3 children and who is, by every indication in this post, running on fumes and still showing up. That is not a mother expressing love. That is a mother protecting territory. The gifts keep coming by the way. Even this year, even after all of it, she still bought gifts. She still put in the effort. She still showed up financially and emotionally for a woman who let her cookies rot and then reported back to the sister that it was not good enough. I want you to think about what it takes to keep doing that. To keep buying the flowers and arranging the deliveries for someone who has made it repeatedly clear that your efforts are insufficient. That level of persistence in the face of consistent rejection is not a personality flaw. It is the result of years of conditioning where you learn that love means performing regardless of whether the performance is ever received, regardless of whether anyone is even watching, regardless of whether it is slowly hollowing you out. And now she is sitting there feeling defeated. That word she used. Defeated. Not angry, not done, not finally at peace with walking away from something that has never served her. Defeated. Like she has been fighting a battle she did not choose and she is starting to run out of the energy to keep swinging. That particular kind of exhaustion, the kind that comes not from one big blow but from 1,000 small ones accumulated over years, is one of the hardest things to recover from because there is no single moment you can point to. There is just the slow realization that you have been giving more than you have and the math has finally caught up with you. And my heart genuinely goes out to her because that feeling is one of the most exhausting things a person can carry. She asked if she is the asshole for wanting her own Mother's Day with her family. She is not. She is not even close to being the asshole. The fact that she is still asking that question after everything that has happened, after the molded cookies and the sister calls and the flat rejections dressed up as feedback, is honestly the most heartbreaking part of this entire story. Let me give you the verdict because this one deserves a clear answer and I am not going to be soft about it. She is a mother. She is a mother of 3 children who are alive and growing and needing her every single day. She has earned Mother's Day. She has earned it in the way that only people who are actually doing the job understand, which is with exhaustion and love and all the invisible labor that nobody claps for. Her mother has no argument here. Being someone's parent does not entitle you to commandeer their holiday for the rest of their life. That is not how love works and it is not how family works. Her mother is not behaving like someone who loves her. She is behaving like someone who owns her. There is a massive difference between a mother who would love to see her daughter on Mother's Day and a mother who calls the sister to say she better have something good planned. One of those is a request. The other is a threat with a smile on top of it. And the cookies on the counter were not an accident. They were a statement. They were her mother saying out loud, in the only language she apparently has, that the gesture was not enough and she wanted something different. But here is the problem. When nothing is ever enough, the issue is not the gift. The issue is the giver not surrendering control of the day entirely. She needs to let herself have this one. She needs to sit with her husband and her 3 kids and enjoy whatever surprise they have put together for her, and she needs to do it without guilt and without apology and without calling her mother to check in afterward. She bought the gifts. She did her part. What her mother does with that is her mother's business now. Because at some point you have to stop managing someone else's disappointment and start protecting your own joy. That is not selfishness. That is survival. And she has more than earned the right to celebrate the fact that she shows up every single day for the people she is raising. My girlfriend's parents paid off her $8,000 debt and she already did it again. She paid off $8,000 of her debt. Her parents handed over $8,000 and asked for one thing in return. One condition. Stop. And within 2 weeks she had already spent another $800. 2 weeks. That is not a relapse. That is not a moment of weakness. That is a pattern with a bow on top. So let us get into this properly because there is a lot happening beneath the surface here and the boyfriend is clearly standing at a crossroads trying to figure out what the right move is. His girlfriend had accumulated $8,000 worth of buy now pay later debt. For anyone who has not gone too deep into those services, buy now pay later is designed specifically to make spending feel invisible. You tap a button, you get the thing. The bill comes later in installments and it is easy to forget how many of those installments are stacking up in the background. There is something almost deliberately soothing about the way those apps are built. The colors are soft, the language is gentle, the word free appears constantly even when nothing is free. The psychological friction that normally makes you pause before spending is engineered out of the experience entirely. You are never asked to confront the full number. You are only ever shown the small, digestible slice, and your brain does the rest of the work of convincing you it is manageable. It can genuinely spiral on people who are not careful, and it can spiral fast, quietly, in a way that does not feel like drowning until you are already underwater. So on its own, the debt is not automatically a character verdict. People make financial mistakes. But here is where it stops being a simple mistake story. Her parents stepped in. They paid the $8,000 off completely. They did not lecture her endlessly or cut her off or make her feel like a criminal. They did not sit her down for a humiliating intervention or demand she hand over her phone or close her accounts in front of them. They solved the problem for her and attached one single condition to that generosity, which was that she stops using those services. Think about what it takes to write a check for $8,000 and then ask for nothing except a behavioral change. That is an extraordinarily reasonable ask. That is not controlling behavior. That is not surveillance or punishment. That is a family saying we love you enough to bail you out, but we need to know this is not just going to happen again. You can feel the quiet desperation behind that kind of gift, the way parents hold their breath hoping this time something shifts. They extended an enormous amount of trust along with that money, the kind of trust that costs something emotionally to give. She took the money and 2 weeks later spent $800 on things she does not need. I am sorry, but I need a moment here. $800. On things she does not need. 2 weeks after her parents wiped out $8,000 of debt out of love and trust and concern for her well-being. Think about what 2 weeks actually looks like in practice. It is 14 days. It is 2 weekends. It is not enough time to even feel the full relief of having a clean slate, let alone to forget why the slate needed cleaning in the first place. The emotional memory of what her parents did, the weight of that gift, should still have been fresh enough to feel like something. And yet, that is not an accident. That is not a misunderstanding. That is someone who heard the condition, nodded along, watched her parents pay the money, exhaled with relief, and then almost immediately went back to the exact behavior they paid to stop, as if the conversation had already faded into something abstract and distant. And the boyfriend already knows this is not new territory. He said she has lied to him before about what she can afford. He said they currently cannot do anything together, no holidays, no experiences, no plans, because she has no money. He has watched her decline dinners and trips and small ordinary moments of shared life, offering up the story of being broke as the explanation, while the real explanation is quietly more complicated. Except apparently she has enough money for $800 worth of things she does not need. So the money exists somewhere. It is just not going toward the life they are trying to build together, and it is not going toward any of the financial responsibilities she has made commitments around. That pattern did not start with the $8,000 debt. It has been running for a while and he has been watching it up close, absorbing the smaller lies and the smaller moments of confusion, wondering each time whether he is reading it wrong. The question he is asking is whether he would be wrong to tell her parents. And I want to be honest about the fact that this is genuinely complicated in a way that most internet takes do not give it credit for. Telling a partner's parents something personal feels like a line. It touches on loyalty and privacy and the unspoken rules of being in a relationship with someone. You are supposed to be on their team. You are supposed to handle things internally before bringing in outside parties. There is a specific kind of guilt that comes with even considering it, a voice in the back of your head saying this is not what a good partner does, this is not how you handle things, this is not the move someone makes when they actually love the person they are with. And going to the parents can feel like pulling a move that cannot be taken back, because once they know, and the dynamic between everyone changes in ways that are not always clean or predictable. But here is what I keep coming back to. The parents are not random outsiders in this situation. They are not people who stumbled into this by accident. They are the people who gave the money. They gave $8,000 based on a promise their daughter made to them, a real promise with real terms that she shook hands on and then walked away from within a fortnight. They are operating right now on false information. They believe their daughter is following the agreement they put in place. They believe the behavior has changed. They might even be feeling quietly proud of her, relieved, telling each other over dinner that it seems like things have turned around. They are carrying a false sense of security about a situation that has already gone sideways, and they have no idea. The boyfriend knows the truth and is deciding whether to let them keep believing the lie. That framing matters because it changes the nature of the question. He is not considering betraying a private confidence out of spite or anger or a desire to make her look bad. He is considering whether to let two people continue to be misled about something that directly affected them financially and emotionally. Those are very different things. One is a violation of trust. The other is a correction of an act of deception. He also tried talking to her. He said she does not care. Not that she is working on it, not that she is trying, not that she had a bad week and slipped up. She does not care. That is a significant thing to say about someone you are in a relationship with. It means the conversation has happened, probably more than once, and it has landed nowhere each time. It means the internal route has already been attempted and closed. The escalation he is considering is not his first move. It is what happens after the first move failed. Here is my honest read on what telling the parents actually accomplishes. It probably does two things at once. It gives her parents accurate information so they can make informed decisions about how to support their daughter going forward, and it forces the situation into the open in a way that might actually create real consequences for the girlfriend. Right now she is experiencing zero consequences. Her parents think everything is fine. Her boyfriend is frustrated but has not done anything that changed the situation. She spent $800 and nothing happened. She woke up the next morning, checked her phone, scrolled past whatever arrived in the mail, and continued her day without anything pressing down on her. There is no pressure on her to behave differently because she has not had to face the reality of what she is doing in any concrete way. But here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Telling the parents is probably also going to seriously damage the relationship. The girlfriend is very likely going to experience this as a betrayal regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the fact that she broke the agreement and lied and is currently hiding fresh debt from people who loved her enough to give her $8,000. She is going to feel like he went behind her back, and she is going to be angry, and that anger might end things between them. He has to be prepared for that outcome before he makes this call. Here is where I land on this one, and I am going to be direct because I think he deserves a straight answer rather than a careful dodge. He would not be wrong to tell them. He would not be the asshole. The girlfriend made a promise to her parents, took their money, and broke the promise within 2 weeks while actively hiding it from everyone. She has already brought her parents into this situation by accepting their help and their conditions. She made them participants. What the boyfriend is considering is simply giving those participants the information they are owed so they can decide what to do next. He is not inventing a problem. He is reporting one that already exists and that she has chosen not to report herself. The harder question is whether telling them will actually help. And I think he needs to sit with that honestly before he makes the call. If her parents knowing leads to real support, real accountability, maybe even professional help for what sounds like it might be a compulsive spending pattern, then telling them could be the most loving thing anyone does for her right now. But if it just leads to a blow-up and a fresh bailout and the same cycle starting again, then the conversation he really needs to have is not with her parents. It is with himself, about what he is willing to stay in and why. Because at the end of the day, the debt is hers, the choices are hers, and the consequences need to eventually reach her for anything to actually change. He cannot want her financial stability more than she does. That is a weight no relationship can carry forever. He can tell the parents and he would be justified in doing so. But he should also be honest with himself about what comes next, because a person who spends $800 2 weeks after an $8,000 bailout and feels no urgency about it is showing him something real about where they are right now. He gets to decide what to do with what he is seeing. If you have thoughts on either of these, drop them in the comments because I genuinely want to know which one hit harder for you. And if you are new here, a like and subscribe would mean a lot.